Good morning to some, good afternoon to those of us who are on the East Coast. Welcome to the 2021 Watkins Retreat. We did this some 8 or 9 years ago in Houston, Texas, and it was something that our goal was to do every year. We have not had the opportunity to focus and do it as such, but we are picking it up back. We are picking it back up now, and we intend to do this retreat where we'll have the alumni and Watkins families invited to come and be able to be the nucleus of what we consider to be the future of our country. And what I mean by that is obviously we found that by doing this in Houston, there were 5 Watkins that they were in the city with 4 other Watkins men. We are striving to change that and to make sure that we have a mechanism in place in order for all of our alumni and families to be able to have a directory and hopefully eventually a website where you can check and see where someone is, what their contact information is, what they do for a living, all of those types of things that will continue to make the network of Watkins families much, much stronger. Again, I cannot reiterate that you are our future. There is no Watkins Award without you. And the passion that the National Alliance of African American Athletes brings to the table when doing things like this is that we recognize that you have a much higher impact on the communities with which you live, on the communities and in the communities that you've played and the communities that you exercise your vocation and your profession. And so I hope you and your families have remained healthy and continue to gain wealth and happiness through these trying times. So amazing to me that the last time I was in the masses or in the presence of most of you was at the last Watkins Award, which was in 2020. And it was at that event that literally the day after that event, the world shut down. And amazing that a year and a half, we're now starting to open back up and things are getting in the path of normalcy. But through this, we know that as an organization, we've been tried and tested. And so we're continuing to grow and make changes because we know that what people are calling this new normal will change things forever. We will have a Watkins Award in 2022. We're engaged, we're starting the planning process. We know that this is going to make us better because we've always talked about giving people the opportunity to attend the Watkins Award virtually and being able to broadcast it. This now makes it something that's essential, even if you have an event in person, for individuals who can't travel or people who wish to be able to attend, view, and partake of the event virtually. And so we'll be building those components into the Watkins Award as we continue to move forward and try to be a better organization and try to be an organization. You guys can be the best that you possibly can be. Again, we can't do this without you. And it's important for you to understand our very existence moving forward is really based on how you continue to engage us as an organization, how you continue to give us the ideas that we need, how you continue to feed into us, not just your energy, but opportunities for us to have the resources to do the things that we need to be doing. And that comes with money, of course. And so we want to be driven by you. However, we need for you to be able to have an opportunity to tell us what we need to be doing as an organization. Dr. Gavin has said it countless times. This thing is really built around relationships that I have built and maintained over years. And one of the things that is that Dr. Gavin said he does not want to happen is that if I were not able to perform in the fashion that I do today, what would happen to the Watkins Award? And that's why we need to make sure that everyone knows about everything that we're doing and everyone is driven to make sure that we continue to move forward. This organization, this award should be and will be an institution in such a way that it's not built on the back of the things that I do, and engaging you more and more in venues like this and giving you an opportunity to help us to drive this organization is essential for the future of the Alliance and the Watkins Award. I'm so very proud of 13 of the young men that have come together and spent time to build out what we now call the Watkins board. And so those individuals are meeting very regularly. And it is not without the input of those individuals that we are making decisions on how we continue to move forward, especially as it pertains to the Watkins Award. Those individuals have a leader in Jamal Rashad Patterson as the chairman of the Watkins Alumni Board. And I am so happy that he has stepped up and taken on that leadership role. But more importantly, he is doing what needs to be done in order to make sure that all of your voices are heard, and we're doing the things as an organization that you would have us do. So I really appreciate you taking this time out of your busy schedule on a Saturday, nonetheless. Again, some of you on Saturday morning, some of you in the afternoon. I'm sure there are other things that we're pulling at your coattails and other things that you could be doing right now, and yet you decided to spend this time with us to help us to make sure that we're moving. And so welcome to the 2021 virtual retreat for the Watkins Award and presentation. I now turn this back over to Reggie, who then will have Jamal Rashad Patterson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pearsall. Mr. Patterson, please turn on your camera, unmute yourself, and you are live and in control. Thanks, Everett.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
Hey, can you all hear me okay?
Clear as a bell.
Perfect. All right, thank you for kicking this off, Everett. Thank you, Reggie, Tyrone, Bill, Kovan. Thank you, everyone, for setting this up for the panelists, for all the Watkins alum and the board members. Hello, hope everyone's well, being safe. Again, like Everett stated, we definitely appreciate you all giving us this Saturday, beautiful Saturday that we have out here, giving us some time and letting us speak to you all. It's greatly appreciated. What I'm going to speak from is for the board member. And as the board member, especially some of the younger guys and guys who might not be as thoroughly involved in the Watkins, I definitely suggest you all, at least recommend you all, get involved with the board. We're all going through something in life. We've all been through something in life in the sense of having to persevere through something, any kind of adversity to go through it. And for me, the Watkins is iron sharpening iron. The men I've met in this journey to Watkins are some of my closest friends in life. And I say that in the sense of, speaking to most Watkins men, it seems if we're one of ones. And sometimes we can feel alone out here. You know, you put the high caliber in academics, you put the high caliber in athletics and people skills and soft skills, and just being a social good Samaritan is the best way. And sometimes you start feeling like as if you're a mutant or something, and you might be one of one again. But meeting from the Watkins guys, and it's helped me so much in life in the sense of even in vulnerable situations. It's allowed me to know that I'm only facing what other men have met. At times, again, as young men, we feel invincible. I remember when I was 18, I feel like I can do anything. Nothing can stop me. Pride through the roof, ego through the roof. And in life, you have situations, you have adversity, you have things you have to persevere, board members. But it was guys I've seen as my peers, you know, guys who've been in the classroom in recent years, guys who've been on that field in recent years. And not just guys who are, you know, average Joes. You're talking about Heisman winners, All-Americans, #1 overall picks, Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers. These are guys who hit the epitome of the highest level of this game that we love, as well as academically with Rhodes Scholars and of course, you know, Myron with the Oxford University. Just so many, illustrious men, and it's definitely a group I advise everyone to get a hold of. We're all going through something in life. I see Richard's on here. He's a father. Love following him on Facebook, keeping up with what's going on with him. I see Quincy's on here. It's been great, you know, following him as much as we can. And that's another thing too I want to say is that even if there's not communication, trust me, we're all following each other. Quincy, if you hear me out there, best of luck at North Dakota State, man. Know you're going to kill it, as if you were doing this tech when you got your opportunities. But again, and I don't want to be really cookie cutter in the sense of, it's great. It's a great alliance. Guys are cool. I really want you all to reach out to guys to get a good network. I mean, again, we're all humble, we're all down to earth, and we're down to help each other. Any facet of life that you're looking for in engineering, which I can assist in if anyone has any career paths, school-wise or professionally-wise, any question with engineering, industrial engineering. We have medical, we have law, again, professional sports if you're pursuing that, entertainment. It's all facets of life where we can hit those entities. And I suggest that we just build those bridge. A big motto, Kovan, he's an Omega. I saw Dean on here, he just crossed. And a big motto we carry on is lifting as we climb. And I truly believe that as we climb, lift others with us. And as others climb, lift us with us. There's not room for one at the top. And again, going back to Omega, the Watkins definitely is a brotherhood to me. And it's ironically that a lot of our bros, we got a few Kappas that snuck in, but majority is bros in the Watkins. And it really is a fraternity. It's a great brotherhood. I'm in Atlanta, and Mohamed Massaquoi, David Yankee, James Vaughters, Justin Blaylock. These are guys we'll be grabbing lunch next Tuesday, and it's really on the thing where it's catching up and hanging out. Even going back to James Vaughters, I was just with this guy till 3 a.m. helping him pack up some stuff, and he was over here earlier. I'm also in the process of moving, helping me pack up. And again, it's a real friendship. And I'll end it off on this in the sense of, you all have had award shows. You've all been presented with many awards and banquets and anything off your merit. But the Watkins is legit, and it's a bigger experience than that. Every other award show I had, you get the award, you smile, you take pictures, you eat some fried chicken, you go home. With the Watkins Award, it really is a family-knit, kind of cult-like atmosphere that I'm definitely a fan of, in the sense of, again, there are guys who are like-minded like you. There are guys who think like you. There are guys who move like you. And again, guys are just so humble and willing to help each other. If there's anything going on, if you may feel vulnerable or gullible at it, please don't let that hold you back. I look at my life and where I'm at now. If I would have held my tongue and not, reached out to the other brothers of the Watkins family, reached out to the board members, had those ties, I can honestly say I don't think I would have the same accolades that I have accomplished thus far, and even just moving forward with that. Again, guys, just trying to be as candid as possible and then not make it, just cookie cutter, but really, the board is great. This facet of guys for anything in life that you want. The same, I know as a as a collegiate athlete and athletes, we didn't have that flexibility to go to all the career fairs and things of that, internships. But with the Watkins Award, that is that avenue where you can get those internships in first person, and you're getting it from people who actually care about you. A lot of those things are just kind of cover your own ass things. Like, yeah, we hosted a career fair, we hosted an internship, but these guys are really going to look out for you. They're really going to push that needle. They're really going to use their connection, their networks, their bridges to get you where you're at. And all you ask in return is you respect the process. You be upstanding, you be punctual. You respect those bridges that people built for you, and you carry it on as you go. That's definitely part of your service and duty to continue it on. And I preface it as, as young Black men, as a Black race, I definitely believe we're the greatest group of thinkers. And as we work together, we continuously prove that. The Watkins Awards have proved that. Society has proved that. And I'm glad, again, that we do have the Watkins Award. And to the new guys, congratulations. Welcome to the brotherhood. Welcome to the fold. To those in there already, best of luck in all your future endeavors. We're watching. We're keeping everything going. Again, I can't express it enough of how excited I am and how proud I am to be part of this allegiance for sure. And if anyone have any questions about the board, please feel free to reach me at 678-508-7549. I'll drop it in the chat, as well as my personal email, which is jrpatterson@alumni.stanford.edu. And again, I definitely can't state it enough. Please reach out to the board, man. It's a pandemic going on. Opportunities are scarce. It's limited out here. Please reach out to the board. Utilize those connections. Utilize those networks. And I mean, you know, gain a friend in the process. Again, going back to Everett, you know, the young brother Dean just crossed, and Everett knew, you know, I was a Q. Shot me his information. Shot dog a text. You know, best of luck. Welcome to the fold. And you know, you got another fan. You got another friend. And anything you need, you know, is here. Again, it's not going to be any pressure thing, but again, if you need a help, you need a bridge, any vulnerable golden moment, man, please do not let that hesitate and hold you back, because this is a band of brothers who've been there before. Again, your face when other men have met, and again, reach out to me and I'll drop that in there. And appreciate you all for giving me your time again on this Saturday, and hope you all enjoy the rest of the show from these great panelists. Everett, thanks again. Reggie, thanks again. Bill, thanks again. And Kovan, definitely look forward to hearing from you, brother. Real doggy.
Rue.
All right, guys.
And if there's any questions in the chat or anything that needs to come, I can ask them as they go. But again, I definitely advise everyone to come through the panel. Herbert, I see you, doggy.
All right, guys, Reginald Grant here. So we're going to go into the next segment. Thank you so much, Mr. Patterson. It's amazing when I see you guys and you're grown men now doing your thing, facilitating the process. And I'm just so proud to be associated with the National Alliance of African American Athletes. I know we have a lot of guests on board today that don't necessarily know about who we are and what we do, just kind of a thumbnail sketch. This is a group of young men designated and chosen that have elevated themselves and are truly embraced the process of being role models. And we want to applaud and thank and honor them as always. I'm always so exhilarated once I go through these events that we have every year. And we invite all of our guests to come and be with us next year at the 2021 event 22, which will be probably in Washington, D.C. So again, I'm Reginald Grant, board member, former chairman of the board, and associated with the National Alliance of African American Athletes since 1996. So time flies, but we've seen so many dynamic young men grow and become leaders in their not only just in their classroom and their academics at their colleges, but they've achieved so many more things after their athletic careers were over, whether they were a major college or the professional ranks, and they went on to do tremendous things. So again, so proud of each and every one of you. My segment today is talking about some of the new things that are coming about. NIL, name, image, likeness. I was going to do a PowerPoint and all that, and I'll make that available to anybody. You can find a lot of that stuff on our websites. We have several websites related to this. And again, the reason I'm in this space is, and as part of the same content that I'm giving you today, I teach at Boston College in a course, there's a sports management course, and one of our biggest segments is intellectual property, and it's called brand management. Many of our guys and everybody else, in terms of, when I talk about our guys, I'm talking about scholar athletes and athletes in general, right? They don't manage their brand, thinking about the fact that at some point you're going to start running fast and jumping high. So you won't be an athlete, whether it be collegiate or professional at some point. But you still need to be engaged. You still need to have to understand it's not about networking, it's about relationship development. You still need to understand that you are a brand, and that brand as an athlete has value. If you went to Stanford University, you have fans that are going to be your fans for life. One of our associates is Marv Fleming. We're working on an NFT for him. He gets off the plane in Green Bay, Wisconsin, hasn't played in 30 or 40 years, and the people on the radio station are announcing Marv is getting off the plane in Green Bay. So he has a brand. Marv has monetized and managed that extremely well. And there are some new opportunities that we did not have, that the young guys will have, but the older guys can also take advantage of. And I'll just walk you right through it. Number one, NIL. You'll see that term a lot. You saw the Supreme Court ruling last week, or maybe you didn't, don't understand. Name, image, likeness. Let me say that one more time. Name, image, likeness. So now the young people in college are going to be able to monetize the opportunity. There are two phases to this, and I'm phase one now, is what I call the short-term phase. Name, image, likeness is all the rage, all the stuff going on about. But the second phase of that is NFTs, non-fungible tokens. But we're going to talk about the first part first. Name, image, likeness. Supreme Court ruled last week that the NCAA was like an illegal monopoly. They never unanimously vote on anything. They voted on this unanimously because most of the Supreme Court people at one time were athletes. They understand that the NCAA has created a monopoly, a monetization system built on the backs of athletes. And that's how they generated this multi-billion-dollar organization to manage in partnership with all the universities and make all this money where everybody's getting paid except the people making the money, the student athlete, right?
And they
Under
didn't
the
pay
guise
taxes
that
either.
it would create a non-amateur situation. Well, now name, image, likeness has finally come full circle. The Ed O'Bannon thing happened nearly 12 years ago to the date, and Ed O'Bannon had a lawsuit related to the use of his likeness in a video game. And so now the Supreme Court just ruled just this week that the states, the NCAA has to figure something out because what they had was illegal. So now you have 7 states that have already passed laws that go into effect July 1st. You have a whole lot of states that are going to try to figure out how to mitigate and manage this. But what this allows is the student athlete, and there are different regulations in every state. Some are not as good as others. In Georgia, I think it's the 75% of the proceeds of the name, image, likeness that the student athlete comes up with have to be shared with the other people in the sports space. But whether or not that's a good thing for the athlete or not, I'm not here to debate it. I'm just here to provide a introductory opportunity, right? So there's a lot of stuff out there. You can reach out to me and I'll send you lots of articles related to that. Name, image, likeness. You have an opportunity to monetize, to get paid for appearances, to do camps, to sign autographs, all the things that were previously totally 100% illegal now. There's going to be, they're going to have restrictions like you can't do sex and drugs and all kinds of things that would be on the borderline. But there's tremendous opportunity for the student athletes and their parents if to manage their brand. Manage the brand, position it, right? So that's the name, image, likeness element of it. The second element of it is NFTs. What is an NFT? Well, again, in the name, image, likeness, I create a t-shirt. I sell those 1,000 t-shirts, or somebody pays me to put my picture on a t-shirt, action shot or whatever. I get paid my gas money and I go on about my business. Unlike a musical artist that writes a song, somebody sings the song, they get paid. 10 years later, somebody sings another version of their song, they get paid again. 10 years later, it's in a TV commercial, they or their estate gets paid again. That's what opportunity lies in phase 2, as I look at this, NFTs. NFTs, non-fungible token. You saw Mahomes, you saw Brady set up a company to do this. Set up a company. He hasn't released them. He set up a company. He's organizing what he's going to do to position himself to leverage his brand and his organization. You saw Gronk release his, made $1 million. Mahomes, I think, weighed 2.4 million. One of the basketball players, the kid that's coming out, made about $50,000. So what the non-fungible tokens, NFTs, it allows is for you as a creative, as an athlete, as an artist to manage your brand, your creative things. For example, you can take a picture, and I'll show you a quick example here, right? So you can take a picture, and we can take and render that picture and make that picture cute or better or different. One second, I'm going to share my screen with you and give you a visual example of what I'm talking about. Now, again, this same information is available, and we're teaching this in my class at Boston College, the sports management class, about the NFTs, the intellectual property, and it just allowing, I don't know why the network is slow. Let me go to another browser. Just allows you to better manage and monetize. With the NFTs, what happened is if I sell the NFTs on the market space and then I turn around, there we go, right? So here's an example of NFTs, right? This is it can move, it can shake, it can be audio, it can be video, but the beauty of it is, number one, I might get compensated 1,000, 10,000, whatever, for a digital image, or audio, or video. Then I sell it to somebody. Unlike the t-shirt that I sold, when he sells it again, because it went up in value, like the old little trading card I had when I was a kid, a million years ago, I get nothing if they sell it and it goes up in value. With the NFT, the creator, the athlete, the person that originates it gets compensated every time it transacts. Think about that. Unlike when I sell a t-shirt one time, it's gone, or I sell a trading card in the old days, it's gone. With the NFTs, you're able to get compensated online, on blockchain, with this new Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that. And the gentleman, Kavan and his Bill, will get onto that a little later in more detail. But you get paid every time that particular product moves. Every time there's a transaction from now to eternity, you and or your estate get compensated. That's what I talk about, managing your brand, controlling your brand. So again, phase one is name, image, likeness for those that are still in college, and probably even next it'll be the high school kids, right? And then it's the NFT. So it's the second phase of that process. It's a little bit more complicated. It's not that easy. We spent $50,000 with NFTs by athletes, started creating these images. We have Marv Fleming, where he's got a jacket, customized jacket that we're going to be selling, that we released this month, that moves and shakes, and then this voice will come over, and then you got Harold Jackson, the Black College Hall of Fame, and Sean Murphy Bunny, but all of their stuff is like, one is a digital card and it moves and it flips. Another one is a football that Marv signed and it circles around. Somebody can buy a single version or multiple versions. So again, it's really complicated. Make sure you have conversations with people that can help you through the process. But the most important thing that you need to understand is the NFTs of the future. Digital cards, digital platforms, everything is going to be digitized. There will still be the physical component of it, but the ability to buy that one of a kind or one of 100 or one of 1,000 digital product is going to be how the process happens more frequently now. So again, I'm not going to go overboard too much. You can email me and I'll set up and have a conversation one-on-one, or we can do another group presentation, or I can even get you copies of the presentation that I do for my students at that class in Boston College that we're doing. And of course, most of those people are fluent international people that pay real money to get that knowledge and information. So again, NFTs is phase two. I would say in the name, image, likeness. You'll see lots of that. You can pull up articles on it. Just type NIL, name, image, likeness, and it'll tell you about that process. And I have about 10 or 20 articles I can send you that you can read through at your own time, energy, and effort. And to get more information on that, phase 1, name, image, likeness. Phase 2, creating those NFTs, monetizing your future, and getting compensated not only once when you sell it, but every time that NFT is sold. If it goes up in value and somebody bought it for 10,000, they sell it for 100,000, bam, you're gonna get your little percentage on that every time it transactions. So it's an important dynamic to look to listen to, and to kind of get acclimated to. So again, I'm Reginald Grant. So glad to be here and part of the process. And I've been around the Watkins Award and part of this thing since 1996. Served in multiple capacities. And don't forget those that are here. We're always looking for money. We have a program kicking off this month related to selling products and merchandise and helping us to generate additional revenue streams. And if you want to make a donation, that's NAAAAA.com. I know I'm preaching to the choir for many of you, but don't mind me. So we're going to get on to the next phase. I appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, again, about NFTs, name, image, likeness, shoot me an email, reginaldgrant.com. You can always find me. All right, we're going to go into the next phase. Hello, I'm Reginald Grant, and welcome to the 2021 National Alliance of African American Athletes Watkins Award event. Sterling, how are you today?
I'm great, Reggie.
Good. Welcome to the National Alliance of African American Athletes event. We are so happy and honored to have you with us. Please give us an overview of who you are and about your company.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for making me a part of the Watkins Award Alumni group, and that I can get an opportunity to contribute to those young men. I'm Sterling Louviere, and I represent a company called Financial Architects, based in Pasadena, California, with locations in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm a professional that basically has worked in tax mitigation strategies over the last 30 years, and we help people to legally not pay taxes. You're only required to pay the taxes which you are financially required.
What's tax mitigation? That's a fancy dancy term.
Well, tax mitigation is, let's think of it this way. Most people are wondering whether something is illegal, immoral, or fattening, and it's not illegal or immoral to only pay the tax in our voluntary tax system that you're obligated to pay. So we'll equate it to this. Most people recognize that if you go down a toll road and you don't pay the toll, that's fraud. If you use the toll road, you are required to pay the toll. But if you illegally circumvent the toll road, that's tax mitigation or legal tax avoidance.
And that's what we all want, is to be put in a position where we can keep more of the money to spend.
Yeah, that's correct. And so many of the fine athletes that you work with, they've been operating under a plan, a game plan. They've worked they've been in the NFL. Every coach goes to a game, and everyone has a game plan. But so many people accumulate money, make money, but they have no game plan on their taxes. And they make a suggestion that, hey, I have a CPA, I have people, but most CPAs and most of their people record history. They don't help them make it. Everyone spends a lot of time looking at, the Jeff Bezos of the world and say, he doesn't pay any taxes. He should pay more taxes. Well, I would suggest a different thought process to that. Maybe you ought to put into place some of the tools that the Jeff Bezoses of the world utilize to mitigate their tax obligation. And I would suggest to you that there are plenty of tools that the affluent, and I'm talking about the guys part of the Watkins Award and what they're going to make in money, might be able to use some of the tools of billionaires for themselves.
It's understanding the unwritten rules of the game and the written rules of the game and mitigating that process to your advantage.
That's correct. the new tax codes out of 2017, the Jobs Act, basically eliminated a lot of personal tax deductions. And so many of your guys have an entourage and several things going on, and they're paying people out of pocket. Well, I would suggest that they should have their own corporation, and rather than being employees of the NFL, they should be employees of their own entities. And those people that they bring a part of their circle should be employees, because the difference in the marginal tax rates of those two, of what they're in and what their people in are substantially different. So whoever you're going to pay ought to be on some type of consulting agreement with you, and you're paying them with pre-tax dollars as opposed to post-tax dollars.
Oh, so I guess it's best for most people, if you're making any kind of money, to set up a corporation. And I even set up another corporation this past month for myself and my family, to be positioned so that you pay less tax dollars if you set up yourself as a corporation.
Your own tax dollars, that includes your mother, your brother, your children, your friends, whoever is a part of your posse that, you know, when you make it, many of your friends make it, and you try and bring them with you. Now, if you're paying for those services and you have a direct contract with whatever entity, the NFL, your endorsement agreements, and they're paying you personally, and you're not necessarily running those out of your entity, then those things aren't necessarily deductible. And when you run a business, almost everything is deductible. And let me say this, but most of my clients that come in, and I'm talking about very successful businessmen making millions of dollars, and women making millions of dollars, I will literally chop their tax footprint in half legally by setting up additional entities for what we call above-the-line deductions that occur at their entity level. And we help our clients set aside money on a pre-tax basis, and in many cases, there is no tax on the accumulated asset that we set aside. So let's use the government's money set aside in other legal entities, and then use those entities in which to make investments, accumulate wealth, and not pay taxes.
Touch on that pre-tax. Explain that just briefly.
Well, for instance, let me give you an example. Let's start off with the fact that you may live in the state of California, which is one of the highest tax states, but your work, your endorsements, your half the games that you play are not necessarily in this state. So for those employments that occurred outside of this state, why would you want to pay the state tax? And just because you play for a California-based team or have a California-based entity doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be the residents of California. You just need to spend less than 6 months in California. And given that 8 games out of 16 aren't played in this state, and in many cases the practice field isn't necessarily in the same state that you're doing business with, your team is in, doesn't mean that you have to pay California taxes. So we could establish a home in Texas or Nevada, and we could spend 5.5 months in the residence of the place that you go to. Most entrepreneurs or businessmen or sports athletes spend a lot of time on the road, a lot of time in other states, a lot of places going other places, and they want to do that because that's the lifestyle they want to lead. But if they've established residency in a high-tax state, they're probably unnecessarily paying tax.
Paying too much of their own money, just giving the money away. So you would suggest that most everybody needs to set up a corporation so that you can legally pay less taxes.
And establish residency or establish a business in some place that has a better tax jurisdiction than where you are, especially if that source of that money is from someplace other than your state of residence.
And if you don't have a corporation set up, that means when you're playing in Massachusetts or you're playing in New York, they're going to tax you in that state. If you have a corporation, then all the money flows through the corporation.
Well, you still may pay taxes in that state, but you wouldn't necessarily have to offset a higher set of taxes that occurs in your state. And
but what kind of corporation is C or S?
Because your compensation is based on the salary that's distributed from that entity. money coming in isn't necessarily the same as money going out.
Say again, for example, I made $1 million, but I only paid myself $100,000 in salary. I'm only paying taxes on the $100,000.
That's right. And as an athlete, you're a target. So what if we established an entity that was an insurance entity that covered your uncovered liability? That would be a good example of an above-the-line deduction where we establish an entity, we establish an insurance company that insures some of the things that you want to do. Loss of a contract. What if you lose your NFL contract? What if you lose your endorsement contract? I think I've received a call. Tiger Woods had a little problem with the loss of endorsements suddenly. And he lost literally tens of millions of dollars in endorsements. Well, he could have had an insurance company contract which insured that loss of that liability. And he just happens to own the insurance company. And he pays a premium to that insurance company. And those premiums are deductible. Anything under $2.3 million paid to a small insurance company is not taxed and accumulated out there. So you could be essentially establishing your own bank to insure liability that you already have in your organization. That would be a good example of an above-the-line deduction to cover an uninsurable loss that could happen in anyone's lifetime. As a high net worth individual, you could be sued for any number of things that would be potentially exempted from your contract. As I recall, most contracts contain some type of morals clause. So all of those things are insurable protections that you couldn't necessarily get from a legitimate mainline insurance company, but you could establish your own. And that's just one of many tools in which we could take above-the-line deductions, legitimately so, that would provide for tax deduction, and it would, in the event that those things don't happen, well, those premiums become earned reserved of a separate entity.
So above the line and below the line, kind of give us a brief insight.
Well,
into
above
that.
the line deduction is anything associated with a business deduction where your travel, those uncovered expenses not covered by your team or your organization that you're working for that come out of your pocket. Continuing education related to whatever field of expertise that you're doing so would be covered at above the line deduction, but they're not covered on your personal deduction on what's called the
A
Schedule
great
A.
example is LeBron spends $1 million or more on his health with cryotherapy and all that stuff. That is 100% deductible.
It is, in this circumstances, if effectively set up as a benefit of one of his entities in order to provide that type of offering to him as a benefit of his corporation.
Wow, there's
Hey, Reggie, can I ask a question?
rules out there. That's why somebody needs a person like you to help navigate the rules of the game.
The rules of the game.
And those tax rules are complicated, and it takes an expert like you to help people to navigate those deep waters and keep more of their money.
Absolutely correct. Now, I'm not a CPA, but I have several that work for me. I'm not an attorney, but I have several of those that work for me. And we create entities and structures and have programs in which professionals can participate in to take legitimate deductions, and we can set up legitimate tools that in most circumstances will cut their footprint in half. And if you're generating 7 figures or more and you walk in to the game without a plan of how you're going to win that game and maximize your benefit, you're planning on somebody else making your plan for you.
So if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So what's the name of your company again?
Financial Architects, Pasadena, California.
And how can we reach you?
I can be reached either on the web at financialarchitects.com, or I can be, my office number is 626-844-1190. I offer a free consultation, glad to help, talk about your situation and how we might be able to make a difference in using the government's money to accumulate additional wealth.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sterling. It's been insightful and educational, and we appreciate you being here with the Nationalized African American Athletes during our Watkins Award retreat. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Great information, such fantastic stuff. Mr. Jenkins, are you on? Jelani. Let me see here. Where is he at? Mr. Jenkins is up next. Watkins Award alumni from the Miami Dolphin. Where is he at? Mr. Jenkins, I'm going to move you to the panel. You are up next on the agenda. Turn on your camera, turn on your microphone. You are live in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Can you hear me all right?
As a matter of fact, reach out to me. You know, I'm right here downtown LA. We got a factory. We have a license to NFL properties as well as some other stuff. So reach out to me.
Nice.
I've been meaning to reach out to you, but
Very cool.
that's Everett's fault. So I'm gonna shut up, do your thing, take your time, facilitate your process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you cut at the end. Is it ready for me to go? We good? Good. I think we're ready to go. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Watkins, for putting this together, this event. I think it's super important for us athletes to remain connected and continue to move forward together, especially as we position out of the game. That's where it's most important. But I think it's really interesting how we're in team environments our entire lives. Then when we leave the game and to separate and go doing the game of life, on our own without a team. So I think it's important that we continue to do this. I was speaking to a friend the other day who I played with in Oakland. This experience we had together in camp, and how we were in a team meeting, and our coach addressed the team before practice, and in order to get us prepared and motivated to move on to the practice and keep with one another, he said something along the lines of, "This is as good as it's going to get," and really just make the most out of it essentially. And I remember that practice, my friend took that to heart, and he went out there and he balled. He had like an interception. He ran back with a touchdown down that day, made some plays in the ground, and he ended up in the backfield, ended up winning the starting job that day. And I remember a few games into the season, he got injured and he never quite recovered. And he was ultimately released and fell into a depression. And he eventually became a client of mine. And so for those of you all who aren't fully aware, I'm Jelani Jenkins. So I played 5 years in the NFL, but now I serve as a mindset coach, and I focus on athletes. And I really, my work is to empower them life after sports by teaching them how to use the power of their mind. Okay. And so one of the main things that the transition did for athletes is something called limiting beliefs. A lot of you have heard of it. Y'all understand sort of that concept, but beliefs that ultimately limit you from reaching your potential on this earth. And so, and working with my friend, my past teammate, we were able to get clear on one of the limiting beliefs that was the big of his depression, and it was that life will never be the same again. It was along the same lines of Coach taught us that day, and it was something that it haunts a lot of us. I know he isn't alone at, because this year when I was preparing to deliver my program, I interviewed 55 former collegiate and professional athletes and asked them just about the transition, what were their fears, their frustrations. And the majority of them pointed out that their greatest fear and frustration was that the feeling of game day was over with, and that they wouldn't be able to experience that level of camaraderie and like the fans going crazy, the adrenaline, that was over with. And essentially they were taking a step down, and that their days were behind them. And so my job as their coach is to help them find passion, purpose for filming the next phase, so that every day really feels like game day for them, even well after the sports career is over with. Okay, and it all really starts in the mind. So I know we have some current athletes, some former athletes. So what I want to do, I want to really question to you all that maybe you haven't considered just yet. But that question is, what is your limiting belief? What are your limiting beliefs? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself? I know this isn't something y'all just think about just asking ourselves every now and then, but what is your limiting belief? And just think about what is holding you back from living the life of your dreams. And I'll give you a hint. There's nothing out of you. And a lot of fall into that trap where we think there's something outside of us. And my circumstances, that indeed in itself is a limiting belief to think. And I ask that question and ponder on it. Very important question. Some of you might have heard Roger Bannister, but he's a track athlete who, long distance track athlete, he was special in running the mile. And Roger Bannister, he at the time in the 1950s, but at that time, the 4-minute mile was thought of to be something that was super impossible to do. And he's an athlete who trained, visualized himself running through the line. And he finally did it. So the world didn't believe it was possible. He finally got up and he ran that minute mile. And a few months after he did it, another runner, and in a year, I want to say about 9 other runners ran that mile. And initially, it was a limiting belief for the entire world. They didn't think that it was possible. They actually thought that if you tried to run the 4 mile, the human body would like collapse. It wouldn't be able to do it. But someone believed in something that the world had never seen before, and they did it. And it was all fine. Okay, it was physical practice, but it was also really believing in something that hadn't been before. You know, somebody like a Beck, he gets a handed grab, and all of us see high schoolers all over the country doing it. What they couldn't do it before, it was that they didn't open up their mind to the possibility just yet. But once they saw it, they believed it. And so there's a very powerful quote by Napoleon Hill that talks about, it says, whatever the mind can conceive and bring it to believe, it can achieve. So whatever the mind of man can conceive, bring itself to believe, it can achieve. And so we all need to ask ourselves as athletes, current, former, what way am I holding myself back from living the life of my dreams? And also, what are my dreams? So what can I conceive and bring myself to believe that will excite me in the same way that sports did? And then when you do that and really harness the emotions of that, then you're able to really feel that sense of passion and that purpose again. And that's a lot of what I make my clients do. And so I want to do a quick little experiment with you all. So if you could just close your eyes for a second and just ask yourself, if I could have, be, or do anything that I wanted in life, what would it be? No matter your age, it's never too late. It's never too early. So ask yourself that question. If I could have, be, or do anything that I want in life, what would it be? And just take a think about it, imagine it, really put yourself in that experience. It can be a few things. If I could have, be, or do anything I want in life, what would it be? And now, if this is something that feels good to you, if this exercise feels good, then great. This is a good thing. That means that your level of belief is pretty high, and you can see yourself in it. And the more you do that experiment, the more you'll believe, and you'll work towards that vision. Now, if this exercise doesn't feel right to you, it's one of 2 reasons. Either your belief isn't great enough, so you're thinking about it and it's actually not really making you feel great because you're thinking of the absence of it, so you're feeling bad, or you're either focusing on the how and experiencing the doubt of it. So you're seeing, okay, I want multi-million dollars, but you're trying to conceptualize how that's possible in a position that you're I don't have the experience to do this. Okay, so that's why I wouldn't feel right to. So that multi-million dollar version of you exists, but if you believe it, it's never going to happen. Okay. Same thing, that dream life after sports exists, but if you don't believe, it's never to happen. It's all about the belief. And it's all about really just the power of identity. And a simple understand what identity is just, it's who believe you are. It's how you define yourself. It's what you believe you're capable of achieving. And it's super important because as human, we will do everything in our power to live according to our identity. There are certain athletes identify themselves as champions and playmakers. If they win a whole game without making a play, they wouldn't feel right because it's not a part of identity. It's not a part of their belief. And there's athletes who really don't believe they can make the play. They may be the most talented on the field, but mentally they're believing there. And that's a limiting factor that holds back. Okay, so what I want to do today is just give you all about a few more minutes. I just want to give you all a few tips on how to train yourself to believe in a version of you that you might have never seen before, so that you can become the champion that you are in the game of life. Okay,
So you have plenty of time, so just do whatever you need to do.
I'm good. Okay, cool. Solid. So really, the first, simplest, and the most effective way to really train belief is through visualization. We talked about Roger Bannister, or how really he was running up because he was running and training for this race, but it was him visualizing himself running through the line, experiencing the feeling of crowd going crazy. Experiencing that such while actually doing the physical work that he started to really believe in it. So some of you might have experienced virtual reality before and put on these goggles. All of a sudden you're on top of a roller coaster on a plane or something like that. And it feels so real to the body. It feels on a roller coaster, but it's not really happening. And it's the reason that is because our body's unconscious. It doesn't know the difference between an actual event that we experience in front of us or an event that we experience in our mind. Our body's going to feel it all the same. Even if you haven't had a virtual reality experience, you might have seen a really good movie that you were really invested in, and for a second, you forgot you were in a movie theater. And it's because your body sort of went unconscious and you're feeling the fears, you're feeling all the emotions of the actual movie, but it's not real. And so the way you train yourself to believe through visualization by having a goal that excites you. And the goal is for your body to believe it is already living in your dream reality. If you want to make plays, if you want to be in the Super Bowl, want to make plays, and you wake up every day and you visualize yourself making that play in the Super Bowl, hearing the crowd, feeling it, feeling those emotions, celebrating locker room afterwards. And your body will believe that it's living there before it actually happens. That's how you train yourself. That's one of the most powerful ways you train yourself to really believe vision. So if you have a life that you want to live and you want cars in your driveway, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. If you believe it is possible. If you want to be in a mansion out in nature, which is just something that I would want, okay, the more you experience it in your mind, the more you believe it's possible, and then we'll take steps towards it with passion and purpose. Okay, so that's one of the main ways. And then the way to train your belief is by eliminating doubt. Okay, doubt is really the enemy of belief, and so a good way to do that is just by focusing more on the why than you do on the how. Why do I want to be a multi-millionaire? Why do I want to have these resources? Ultimately, who am I going to serve with these resources? So how my loved one, how would their lives be transformed because of what I'm here? When your why is great enough, that's your driving force. When your why is great enough, the how is going to work itself out. And I said before, a lot of people we have this vision of how we want life to be, but we're stuck about the how so much that we don't even ever take action. And I fell in that trap when I stopped playing football. Is I was trying to prevent it because I didn't want to make the wrong move. Some of y'all are resonating with it because you don't want to make the wrong move, and so you're trying to conceptualize the how to get to that point, and you spend months and you don't make a move. So the goal is to focus on the why, focus on what it is that you want and why you want it, and let that drive you and take massive action towards it. And the truth is, none of us are creative enough. You and I both. We're not creative enough to figure out the exact combination of events that are going to lead us to our destination. We're not creative enough to do it. So you can't think of the how you want to, for real. because you end up, chances are you're going to meet somebody who, let's say their cousin works at a pet store. They sold a pet to some person whose wife is the boss of the company that you eventually partner with get to where you want to go. That's just how it works. So the world that we live, we were ready for it to happen. Okay, so it's not so much on focusing how. That's really how the doubt creeps in. It's more focusing on the why and moving forward with passion, with purpose. So really, two things I just want to leave you with. Visualize it clearly, feel it as if it's happening now, and that's really train your belief and get clear on your why. Get clear on your purpose for doing what you're doing. Let that be what drives you forward. And I'll leave you with a quote, Earl Nightingale, and it says, success is really just the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. Success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. And what that's really saying is it's not a lot of us think success is a destination. It's landing somewhere that you feel proud of, and that be it. But really, success is the journey. It's the creation of that dream. It's having an idea that excites you, something fulfilling that excites you, and move towards it, and creating that world for yourself in the process. All creative beings, and so fulfillment in the creation of a world that excites you. So whatever it is that you want to live, whether you're a current athlete or for former athlete, whatever life you want to live, see it, okay, in your mind, visualize it, write it down, put it all around you, vision boards, all type of stuff. See it, be extremely clear on it, then believe it is possible for yourself, and then just go create it. Okay, and I'm sure it's a lot easier said than done. That's really the most powerful thing you can do, is that you see it and believe it is possible for yourself, and then move towards it. Again, not focusing so much on the how, but the why drive you forward. Okay. With all that being said, feel free to reach out if you need anything at all. Again, thank you to the Watkins for putting this whole event together. It's special. And thank you for having me. Questions, comments, concerns, anything.
They'll type them in the chat if they have questions. If you have a question or thought, type it in the chat and he can see that. Remember, we're on a webinar platform, not just a regular Zoom. So only the speakers are allowed to have that conversation. Dynamic presentation, fantastic information. And guys, don't forget, we have people like Jelani and all of these people online here. I see people I haven't seen in 20 years, right? So connect the dots, guys. It's not about networking. It's about relationship development. You have a dynamic organization within the Alumni just in and of itself, and it's powerful. And you guys just need to utilize the resources. And we have start building out the Alumni webpage, so that's all there, and connecting you guys together and make sure that you have access to all the resources that are available out there, and just elevate the relationships. As we all know, you elevate somebody else, you elevate yourself 100 times over. So Jelani, fantastic. Reach out to me. I'll put my number in the chat. You can reach out to me. I'm here in LA. and we can connect the dots and see how I can add some value. I know I have some clients and some people that you need to be having conversations with. I see Connor Brumfeld. He works in multiple sports. He's a financial planner and has a lot of baseball guys. I have baseball, I have volleyball, I have all kind of relationships to connect the dots. So we'll let our next speaker come on. Great presentation, dynamic information. You're going to be highly successful in this lane, and we'll definitely connect you with some people and get you on some platforms that you can deliver this message. We're doing something Tuesday, and then we're doing something in Vegas in July. So I'll connect the dots with you. Call me. I'll talk
Appreciate you,
about
brother.
the chat. All right. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Kovan and Bill, and I'll let Kovan introduce Bill.
Reggie.
Yes, sir. You're live.
Hey, I just want to say thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Everett, Jamal.
Bill, turn your camera on. There you go. You're live, Bill. Let's have a conversation. Kovan, it's your show. I'm going to shut up.
Okay. Well, my name is Kovan Daboski. I'm a 2008 award finalist. I went to UC Berkeley. I had the pleasure of being able to make Jamal and bring him into the fold as an Omega. But my journey was a little different as I wasn't able to make it to the NFL. I was at Berkeley from 2008 to 2012. I got my degree there in globalization and consumer behavior. But while I was there, I learned about something special. And that something special was cryptocurrency. I learned about Bitcoin in 2011 when it was roughly $1. From that point, I left the following year. I graduated and left. And my fraternity brother, Ted Agu, who also played at Cal, ended up dying. Around that time.
No, Kovan, turn your microphone up. They're having trouble hearing you. Maximize the microphone and then just start again. Bill, say something.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
We can hear you, Bill, clear as a bell.
All right. I think he's on mute or turned off his audio. I don't know.
It's your show, baby. Talk to us.
All right. Sorry, Kovan. We'll pick you up at the end. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Bill Barheit. I'm the founder and CEO at Abra. We're a crypto Bitcoin investment platform. We service a couple of million consumers, investors like yourselves in about 50 countries. We're becoming more and more popular with pro athletes who are investors, myriad sports. So I want to give you my take on a few things happening today. I've got my notes. I've been listening to what everybody else has been saying. I think there's a really interesting kind of dynamic happening, be very helpful for everyone here to appreciate and understand. So I'm going to talk to you about three things. The first thing is, I think, understanding the difference between an appreciating and a depreciating asset. So I'll explain what appreciating asset is, and I'll explain from my perspective what a depreciating asset means. We're in a very interesting time right now. People think every time is unique, their time is different, but history kind of repeats itself over and over again. But there are a couple of unique things happening right now, particularly coming out of COVID and what's happened during COVID as it relates to the government printing money and inflation and what it means for you, particularly potentially as pro athletes. My understanding is that professional sports careers, the actual amount of time that you're playing and earning money is pretty much less than 5 years. 3 years in the NFL, 4 years NBA, 5 years MLB, and of course that doesn't include the so-called black swan events of you've got a 10-year contract but you get hurt in the second year and for whatever reason you're not going to get paid. So there's lots of those instances where I've met people who just weren't in a position to do the right kind of financial planning up front. We heard from the tax advisor that effectively for most people, what they think is the income is probably really 2x what the real number is, meaning that if you've got $1 million signing bonus, you're probably talking about $500,000 in spendable income for most people at the end of the day. If you're making as a rookie $500,000 or $600,000 a year, if you live on one of the two coasts, maybe with the exception of Florida where there's no state taxes, you're probably talking about half of that as take-home income. So that literally means $300,000 to $350,000 at the most. Combine that with the fact that you've got a 5-year career, you need to be thinking about what it means to have appreciating assets in your life, income generating assets in your life, and not just focus on the depreciating stuff, the expensive cars, the expensive houses that basically depreciate in value relative to your net worth the minute you buy them. Some real estate may go up, some real estate may go down, but if it's not generating cash flow, it's effectively a depreciating asset versus inflation in most cases. So again, not here to scare you. I'm just kind of here to give you the reality, and then I'll relate that to what we're seeing in the crypto world and why Bitcoin is so interesting, and why so many people are interested in this crypto topic. Appreciating asset is what it sounds like, right? It's an asset that actually generates value for you over time, either because there's a reasonable expectation that that asset will go up in value itself, and or because that asset is generating cash flow for you over time, right? So an example of an asset that generates cash flow for you over time would be a rental unit that you buy and then you rent out. It generates cash flow. So there's a net present value of that rental unit that may be higher than what you paid because of the expectation that you're going to be getting for a very long time. That's an appreciating asset. Okay. So a depreciating asset is generally a new car purchase, right? You buy a car, you take it off the lot, and it immediately loses value. Okay. Expensive clothing, depreciating asset. Okay. Cash is actually a depreciating asset. So putting money in the bank for the most part is actually holding a depreciating asset. Why is it there an expectation that putting money in the bank is actually holding a depreciating asset? Well, it's actually very simple. The cost of living goes up pretty much every year, except when we're in these kind of, down cycles of in 2007, or like we had last year at the beginning of COVID, every 10 years or so. But for the most part, prices go up because the government basically wants that to happen. That's how they manage the house of cards. That's how they manage basically the economy. All right. So that means that the dollar you're holding generally buys somewhere between 1% and 3% less next year than it does this year. Right. And right now that number is even higher because the government wants inflation to go up even faster to account for all the money they printed during COVID. Okay. So that means that if we're going to protect our wealth, not only do we need appreciating assets, but those assets in theory need to appreciate even faster than this rate of inflation. So if the rate of inflation is, let's say, 3%, which is pretty reasonable to expect, and your assets are appreciating at, let's say, 2%, you're still losing net worth versus, right, the rate at which the cost of living is increasing. So you probably need to make anywhere from 4 to 5% in terms of just what you've saved in order to basically not just be spinning your wheels and standing in place. Otherwise, you're going backwards. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So Bitcoin and certain crypto assets are really interesting for a lot of different reasons. Let's talk about Bitcoin first. A lot of interesting properties because we just talked about cash and the money basically being inflationary. In other words, the government keeps printing more of it. Every year they print more. During COVID, usually they would increase the money supply by like 2%. So let me put that in other terms for you. If you had a 1950 something Mickey Mantle rookie card and you thought that was the only one in existence and everybody wanted it, you could have a reasonable expectation that that baseball card would be worth tens of thousands of dollars. If you found out next week hundreds of those Mickey Mantle cards, it would stand to reason that the card you had would now be worth a lot less. For some reason, when it comes to money, people don't accept that that's the same truth. In other words, if there's a certain amount of money out there today and the government prints more of it, the money that we have left from before is actually going to be worth less, right, in terms of what it can buy than it was before. It's just common sense. It's no different than the baseball card example. Now, in most years, the government prints 2 to 3% of the money that exists again, right? Meaning it adds more money to the money supply, which basically takes away from the value of what you have. Last year, or over the last 18 months, the government has increased the money supply not by 2%, but by almost 25%. That is unheard of in Western history. It's just nothing like it has ever happened. Even in the worst examples of World War II, the Great Depression, we never did anything like it, okay? And the expectation is now that rampant inflation is going to happen. And we've seen it. If you know, tried to rebuild a home, we talked about lumber prices. You know, the prices of all of these things are skyrocketing. Why is that happening? We're coming out of a pandemic with near full employment, right? Lots of employers can't find workers, but yet the government massively increased the money supply last year. It has to lead to inflation. It's just common sense. Okay. So why is Bitcoin so interesting in this model? Well, Bitcoin is the opposite. Okay. It's digital money, which is okay, that's technology. But why is the digital money so interesting? Well, it's interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, unlike that government paper money, nobody can put their finger on the print button and just arbitrarily make more of it, right? It's mathematically guaranteed to be capped out at a certain amount. In other words, in a few years, we will reach 21 million Bitcoin, okay? And there will never be more. Unlike that government where we put our finger on the print button and just keep making more and more and more of those Mickey Mantle cards, which makes the value of the one we have go down, down, down. All right, that's number one. Number two, right? You know, the rules are impossible to change. It's almost impossible, right? And that's why we're confident that there will be never be more than 21 million. Number three is you could actually take one Bitcoin and create tiny, tiny pieces of it. So you can have like literally 0.000001 Bitcoin. So that means that as the price of Bitcoin is going, it's now, I think like $1 trillion, you can actually have 0.0001 of one Bitcoin, and that could be worth like $50. All right. So there's this misunderstanding. Well, if there's only 21 million Bitcoin and there's 7.5 billion people in the world, the math work, right? Well, the math works because you can actually take one Bitcoin and make it into tiny pieces. It's like taking a bar of gold and shaving off an ounce. Okay. So now you have a system, right, where you can create more. You can create tiny pieces of it so that everybody can have some, while the government continues to print more money. So what would you rather hold during these periods when the government just continually prints more money? Would you rather hold that inflationary asset that is more or less, history has shown, guaranteed to go down in value? Or would you rather hold that deflationary asset like Bitcoin, who we know there is a fixed amount? Okay, this is why we hear this term digital gold. For thousands of years, the best store of value we ever had. And there's a few reasons for that. One, we had a pretty good expectation that on the planet Earth, there was a relatively fixed amount of gold. Now we keep finding more, but we know that the Earth has a fixed size and eventually we'll run out of finding more, but who knows, out in outer space, there may be infinite amounts of gold. Okay. So it was the best we could do for thousands of years, right? Obviously it had ornamental value. It still does. We all have, my band here is gold and that's nice. But basically it was a way to store wealth. Our money used to be based upon what we call a gold standard. That means that we would actually have a dollar whose value actually used to be pegged to some amount of money in a vault. That was actually true up until about 40 years ago. And President Nixon took us off this gold standard arbitrarily. He just made it up. He said, the money we have is now going to be worth your perception of what this piece of paper is worth. Literally made it up. Okay. So Bitcoin said, we're going to make up something different. We're going to make up a system where the math proves that we're never going to have more than 21 million of these things, but they're going to be divisible to tiny pieces so that everybody can participate in this new digital Bitcoin economy. This is why. Now you ask yourself, okay, why has the price of Bitcoin gone up and down like crazy for the last 10 years? Okay, let me explain. So today, Bitcoin is trading at about $30,000 for one Bitcoin. Like I said, you can buy a penny worth of Bitcoin, or you can buy millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, right? Because you can just buy 0.0001 of them. The price peaked a few weeks ago in the 60,000s. And last March, it was below 3,000. Why is this happening? And why is Bitcoin potentially still a really interesting investment, even though this is happening? A few things, okay? When you have something that is going up at what we call an exponential rate, it's very difficult for human beings to think exponentially, right? If you've ever heard your coach say, hey, if you make a 1% per week improvement, you'll be like 10x better at the end of the year. That's hard to get your mind around because 10x is huge, right? But 1% compounded quickly, right, over weeks and a year will get you to that 10x. Well, this is what's happening with Bitcoin. So when you're going up like this, right, the pullbacks, when you look at it that way, don't seem so bad because we're on the front lines of basically creating this new asset, bringing it to the masses. We've never had a digital gold before. So when you look at it from that perspective, it kind of makes sense that it's going up and down in value, but the long-term 10-year trend is crystal clear, right? I have some charts I'm not going to bore you with. It's not a math lecture, but basically, if you look at the macro trend, it is 100% crystal clear what's been happening for 10 years. And we are literally in the middle of that bull trend. And again, I believe it's happening because now the world is waking up to this. Institutional investors, hedge funds, high net worth traders are all taking between 1 and 10% of their assets and saying, hey, I need to protect myself and think about if the government's going to have their finger on the print button for the next 20 years, and they're going to erode the spending value of my cash by 90% over those 20 years. By the way, that happens every 20 years. Every 20 years, the value of cash gets eroded by somewhere between 60 and 90%. Every 20 years, like clockwork, okay? Most people just don't realize it over a 100-year period because they die. So if the government is going to do that, why am I not putting between 1 and 5% or 1 and 10% of my net worth in something that has proven already to be the single best appreciating asset class we've ever had? We've never seen something appreciate at the same rate that Bitcoin has over the last 10-year period in human history. We've never seen it. Okay. So that's why so many people are excited about Bitcoin. Okay. So as you basically start to look at asset allocation, you should definitely deal with the tax tax issues, and find every person who's been if you know somebody who's been lucky enough to be that pro athlete for more than 5 years, ask every one of them you know who their financial advisor is, and don't be afraid. I promise you they'll want to tell you. Okay, so find that out, talk to those financial advisors about tax strategies, but you still have to protect what's left and what's there, and you want appreciating assets. So I would start to think about, yeah, you're going to put a bunch of money in, a little bit of money in stocks. You're going to buy some real, hopefully some properties that generate income, but you're going to want to put some money in an appreciating asset like a Bitcoin. But I'm talking about like less than 10%. Okay. You do not want to put 70% of your net worth in something that goes up like this, where it's very harrowing to watch those price charts all day. Okay. And so I'll talk about the gold. I saw Kurt's question. I'll talk about the gold analogy in a second and why I think Bitcoin is going to replace gold in the coming months. All right, in the coming years, and we're going to see the kind of investor interest in gold wane over time. Yeah,
5 minutes.
Okay, so just to sum this up, right? That's the Bitcoin narrative. There are other cryptocurrencies I'm asked about all the time. Ethereum is really interesting because you heard somebody talk about earlier. We heard Reginald and others talk about NFT. Ethereum is the technology behind things like NFTs and other buzzwords I'll throw out, like DeFi and stable coins that you may have heard about. And that's what's driving the value of Ethereum. Very different from Bitcoin. Okay, so I hold some Bitcoin and I hold some Ethereum, but I hold them for different reasons. All right. I also put my contact information in there. And if you want help or advice, we have a team of people that can talk to you about how all this works in more detail. On the gold question, okay, it's like saying if the post office does what email does. Actually, I got this question in the 1990s when I was working at Netscape on one of the first internet companies. Why do I need this email internet thing? I can just write a letter. And it's the same question, more or less, about gold versus Bitcoin. When you have something that is digital, online, has no off hours, right? If you want to store gold in a bank, right? Banks are closed more than they're open. Stock markets are closed more than they're open. Bitcoin has no closing hours. It's 24/7. You have access to that digital asset, right? 24/7. Okay. So I obviously strongly recommend Abra. That's our company. Obviously, I'm biased, but we have helped over 1 million abra.com. You can just go to the App Store and down or Google Play Store, whatever you use, down. Want to send me an email to bill@abra.com. I'll put my mobile number in there as well. Feel free to send me a text message, and I'll also get you set up with one of our folks. We have a ton of, I realize I didn't have a lot of time here, just give you, whet your appetite a little bit. Any questions afterwards via text or.
Guys, I'm a Watkins finalist from 2000 since pretty much 2014 on where to put my Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And it was through a connect from a Berkeley networking situation where I was able to get associated with Abra. And in my experience of being a part of cryptocurrency for so long, in my opinion, it's better than being on Coinbase. So I thank you, Bill, for being able to come on here and explain cryptocurrency.
Thanks.
And to show your app, because that's where I have my cryptocurrency. It connects to my bank. I can get it. We've helped out a couple of Watkins Award members that, normal apps, you wouldn't get that type of help of support that they were able to offer in such a fast time. And I think that's what's key as football players when you're dealing with your money. you want to have a support system, right, that's going to be able to help you. And this staff with Abra really hones into helping whenever you need something. So I really appreciate that, Bill. And I thank you guys for having us on here. And Jamal, man, I miss you. I can't wait to talk to you. Everett, thank you for this. Reginald, thank you. And, I'm not here to shill on you guys, but I believe in the NFT world as well. And I have a cryptocurrency that I created 4 years ago through proof of performance on certain fast twitch isokinetic machines. You're able to harness and keep your data. And I think that data is the proof of showing your likeness, right, through what you did, and you're able to monetize off of your sweat equity, if you will. And I think that that type of technology is here today. And if any of you want to find out more about that, you can look at my Instagram on Dig Deep Academy, and you'll see the machines. You'll see everything that's going on right there. And you can look up Athlete Coin on Instagram as well, because this is about to be something special for athletes. And I want the Watkins Award members personally to be a part of this first. So I have Ben Tate helping me. And, I would like the rest of you to come on board as well with this, because I think this could be the way to disrupt the NCAA through these machines. So, I thank you guys, and I can't wait to talk more about this opportunity. So thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Kawan. Thank you, Bill. Amazing information, dynamic. Everett, you're live. Mr. Moore, you're live. Turn your camera on. Oh, look, you got a certain tie on. Look cute.
Thank you, Everett.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Are you going to show the video, Reggie?
No, we're over schedule.
Okay. All right. Good deal. So, again, very powerful presentations by two of our Watkins guys, as well as two of our guests who've been a part of this retreat. What I did in coming up with some of those topics was to ask Jamal and the alumni board what things they think would help educate and or position a lot of the alumni and families around some of the hot topics. And so those were the four, and I think we really had some great subject matter experts here to help talk about it. It's a starting dialogue. When you give someone 10 to 15 minutes to talk about something that they could go on for hours, they kind of give you the highlights. But again, all those resources are available to you, and a follow-up nature, question and answer. This year was rough for a lot of people. It was really rough. And as we sort of got out of our 2020 Watkins Award, and usually we do our dinners. This past year, we weren't able to conduct the dinners for 3 of the 4, and we're planning on doing that hopefully this summer. But as we went through our normal process of planning, July came, and then August came, and then September came, and I continued to hold out some kind of hope that obviously we turned the corner on COVID-19 in such a fashion that it would allow us to have some type of an award banquet back in DC. But the reality kicked in around the November timeframe that unless you were already equipped, invested to do something virtual, and will be effective, then you shouldn't do it. And so we decided to not have our traditional gala that we've had for 29 years. But as things began to turn around with the vaccine, and as people are now beginning to get back out, about a month ago, I went back to the drawing board and I said to myself, and the words of my good friend, Brian Chisholm, he said, don't cheat this year's class. There are a great group of seniors that unfortunately would not have had the opportunity to come into the Watkins class this year because we did not do the 30th year gala. However, do something because this class deserves it. And so I took the list that we typically go after, which are the top athletes in the country. And I did a survey where I actually called 50 plus of those individuals and just had about a 15 to 30 minute interview with them to kind of go through why the Watkins Award would have been something that would have been important to them, allowed them to kind of express to me the importance of being a student athlete. Also, why is it important for them to give back to the community? I made my notes and kind of went through it. I also did my own research, and terms of being able to speak to some coaches and do some online surveying as individuals. And so in doing that, I came up with one individual that we decided to honor this year. And boy, is he special. His name is Jordan Moore. He went to Loyola Blakefield High School in Towson, Maryland. A 4-year starter, beginning at the wide receiver position and then transitioning into a quarterback. In his last full season, he threw for over 2,000 yards. He was Sports Illustrated All-American. He was Maryland's first team All-American, Maryland's top 10 player. All 4 of his high school years, he spent on the Dean's List, a member of the National Latin Honor Society and also the National Honor Society. But as you know, for Watkins men, the most important thing for me was to see what he did in the community. He mentors constantly Baltimore youth and the disenfranchised. He tutors youth in the emphasis of STEM and those who have sort of an interest in the sciences. He coaches Little League. He's a leader of the Black Student Union and has mentored many youth throughout Maryland and helped them to deal with issues around mental wellness, drugs. Doing all of that, still maintain a 3.8 grade point average. Last week, I was able to go up to Duke University where he enrolled early. And unfortunately, we're not able to show you the link, but it's on Instagram, and present to him in front of his coaches and his team, the Watkins Award recognition for all the hard work that he's gone through. And I think that next year, when they have an opportunity to come to the event we have in DC, and we acknowledge them in front of the group that we normally have, you'll see that what a special family they are. And a lot of people talk just as much about his parents and Percy, whom I've had an opportunity to speak with on the phone a couple of times, as they do about him. But a lot of you in attendance, parents of Watkins, you all know that this is a family award because we understand all of the sacrifices that one has to go through in order to get to this point, in the position your child and your young man, should I say, to be able to move forward and position them with a foundation that creates the results like this. And so we also want to use this retreat and this format, as we are in assembly and we haven't had this many people together in quite a while, even virtually, to recognize him and allow him to be seen by us with the plaque that I went down and presented to him last year. We present to you in recognition of his achievement, not on the football field, but in the classroom, in the community, and what people think of him as a young man. The Moore family should be very proud, but we present this recognition to Jordan Moore. Please turn your camera on and let everyone see the plaque and see who you are, young man.
First of all, thank you for having me here today. It's really good to see you again. I'm very appreciative of this award. I'm proud to be part of this special group, but I couldn't have done it without the support of my family and without the support of Loyola Blakefield and all the coaches and staff, faculty and staff that helped me shape me to the man I am today. So I'm very proud, but I'm very excited and humbled that I was able to earn this award. And I can't wait to meet everybody and develop connections moving forward. Thank you.
We're so very proud of you. And as a Watkins family, we're always more proud of what you'll be doing in the future as you embark upon the new challenges that you'll go through up there at Duke University and all the things that will be in store for you. The limited time that I've spent with you, I've been very, very impressed. And I know that you'll do big things up there as you continue to lead your team and continue to get more involved up there in your new community at Durham. And so congratulations again to you. Welcome to what we now call the Watkins family. And we appreciate all your hard work and look forward to following you very, very closely.
Thank you.
On behalf of our family, I just want to say thank you for honoring Jordan with this award. So we're super excited that you were able to go up to Duke and give it to him. So this is amazing. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, I didn't know you were there with him. Great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can I
We're
ask
good, Reggie.
where the gala is this year, Reggie and Everett?
It will be the second weekend in March, and it will be in Washington, D.C.
I think we need to get that thing back to LA, Everett. What will it take, Everett?
Oh, Everett?
Yes, so
You're the
one thing
answer
I'll
to
say in parting, and as we close out, and I'm not sure if you'll have a couple of things in closing as well. As we continue to move forward as an organization, you know, we're driven off of the things that, you know, you guys as individuals bring to the table. Impact that you'll make. We continue to need an avenue with which you go on our website and be able to buy Alliance merchandise, as well as a plethora of other goods, whereby we'll use that as fundraising avenue for the Alliance as well. So as you come in contact with people who you think will be good partners with the Alliance, as you get yourselves in position to support us, we need that support to become the institution that we were meant to be. And so as we continue to move forward, we move forward with you, through you, and we can't do it without you. So we appreciate everyone who took the time out today to share this hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes with us. And we look forward to seeing you in Washington, D.C. next year.
Amazing, guys. This is absolutely amazing. Always so excited and thrilled to be part of the National Alliance for African American Athletes. I'm Reginald Grant. It's been my pleasure and honor to be part of this process. And again, make sure you continue to nurture your relationships, connect with each other. Make sure you understand that you are a resource for each other, as well as a resource for the Alliance, as we continue to elevate our young people by the things that you do. You are role models. It is what it is. You can't get away from it. And again, appreciate you all. I know it's been a long hour and 45 minutes, but we want to keep it short and succinct. So I'm Reginald Grant. Everett, parting words, and we're out of here. All right, guys, connect the dots. We love you all. Have an exceptional week, exceptional day. We'll see you the second week in March.
All right, George Moore, where are you? All right, we have a very special guest, Everett Pearsall from the Watkins Award. Got a little something to tell you, bro. Here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's always an honor for me to come here and spend time on this campus. And the reason for that is that it represents what I represent. It's not just being a good athlete. You guys are in here working out, you're getting everything together. Prepare yourself for something that's going to happen months from now. But you want your body to react. You want to condition it to do the things that you football program, but also one of the toughest academic institutions in the country. This degree holds weight all over the world. When you say you graduated from Duke University, people listen to what you have to say. We have recognized the top community and how you pay attention to the importance of education. And you guys have that one individual that we have selected to be honored for the Watkins Award this year. And I'm showing up today to give this plaque a representation of 2021's Watkins Award recipient, George Moore.